Hello, and welcome to the South Coast Artist Index, where artists, performers, and writers, as well as curators, directors, and supporters, anyone with ties to the creative community, drops by to introduce themselves to you. We'll talk about their beginnings, their vision, their passion, and so much more. And now, here's our host for today's podcast, Max Wickemeyer.
Good morning. This is Max Wickemeyer, podcast for the South Coast Artists Index podcast series, recording from Spectrum Marketing Group in the south end of New Bedford. I will introduce Trina Bigham, an artist. She's been living in Fairhaven for the past 30 years. Trina Bigham is an author of an autobiography, Better Than Ordinary. In addition, Trina is a social advocate, organizer, and leader of group and individuals, and she seeks creative expression in producing, in the past, stunning sculptures and currently watercolor paintings. I'm so happy to meet Trina once again and to hear a very special part of her journey, passions, and visions. Good morning, Trina.
Good morning, Max.
Well, how are things for you today?
Things are good.
Awesome. We're here today to talk about a number of topics, some of your creative background that brought you to the place today that we're in. In particular, I'd really like to talk at first about your memoir, Better Than Ordinary, and I listened to or I read and listened to it. I actually put on auto read.
Nice.
Yeah, and
I love auto read.
Well, I really tried it for the first time.
Yeah.
It was great. So, but I love your story. Your story is intense. As one of the book reviewers that published as a result of reading the book, described it as raw, honest, and unforgettable. I agree with that. For me, the first chapter was spellbinding, and really, it did capture me. And at the end, I said, "Well, what's going to happen next?" So nice work with that.
Thank you.
Definitely, the story is intense and involves a struggle, like 2 life struggles, at least directly, and expand it with your family. Tell me about Better Than Ordinary and how and in the book, please.
Okay, sure. So I'll back up a little bit. I went to school after high school. I went to Northeastern to study mechanical engineering, and I was an engineer for a while, and then I decided that wasn't quite for me.
Now, before you go on, I want to jump in here. You liked the experience of Northeastern University intern program?
Yes, they have a unique program. It's a 5-year program, and you get to do co-op experience, which really helps to be able to get a job when you're done, because you've already done co-op jobs at different firms, and they know you and they know your work, and so it really helps in getting you employment afterwards.
And where you ended up is this Sipican?
Sipican, yes. I think it's now Lockheed Martin, but it's in Marion, and it was just the most fabulous place to work because they were way ahead of their time. They employed many female engineers, people with disabilities. It was just a very well-rounded place. They really encouraged inclusion in all ways, like even in, they had exercise trails. I mean, I'm talking now like 40 years ago. When things like this were unheard of, like that they would pay for your sneakers, and they would give you time to exercise, and they had a cafeteria with healthy food, and It just was really a place that was
It treated people like people.
yeah. There needs to be a lot more companies that emulate that kind of thing. Yeah.
So that attracted you to apply for and be hired at the Sippican Engineering Group.
Right. Well, I actually worked there when I was in high school.
Okay.
Yeah, I was kind of a grunt worker in high school, and then I went and did co-op jobs in different places: Harvard Square, Boston, and then in Marion, and then I ended up getting hired at Sippican once I finished my degree.
Wonderful. And your engineering pursuit wasn't fulfilling enough for you, is that right?
Yeah, I would say that it wasn't. I was always good in math, so I guess that's what drove me into engineering. But then I worked there for a while, and then I started having children. My husband and I have been married for 41 years, and we have 3 children. And once I started having children, I felt like I needed a job that was, maybe not as intense, and giving myself some more time with the children and everything. So what ended up happening was Sippican was having a layoff, or a voluntary layoff. And so I took the voluntary layoff, and I talked my husband into moving to Thailand, where he's originally from. So we moved there. I wanted my kids to know his parents. And they actually passed away during the time that we lived there for around maybe a little better than 3 years. And that's where the book kind of starts. I had 2 children when I moved there, and then I was pregnant with my 3rd child. And so I'm in this country where I started to learn the language, and I went into labor in the middle of the night, but that's not the whole story. I was only 24 weeks pregnant. And at 24 weeks, a baby fetus, I don't know what you'd call it, is not viable. So I was rushed in the middle of the night to a hospital where the doctor said he would try to extend my pregnancy to 32 weeks. And so I lived in a hospital for the next 4 weeks. And then finally, there was just no amniotic fluid, is that the left, so they had to deliver. So my youngest son, Brennan, was born at 28 weeks. At first they gave him a little bit of a chance of living, but then he developed pneumonia during the first week, and then they lowered his chances to about 10%. But he was a fighter, and he fought back, and that first year he was just, in and out of the hospital after he spent the first, 2 or 3 months just in the NICU. And then when he finally came home, he still had a lot of issues, and he would be a frequent visitor to the hospital, sometimes with overnights and stuff like that. And slowly he, got better. And probably when he was about a year or 18 months, during this time, probably at about a year, I decided to take him back to the United States and get him evaluated at Mass General Hospital. This is all in the book. And so anyways, that's the first time that someone said that he had cerebral palsy, which is, probably at birth he lacked oxygen, whatever. So cerebral palsy is a wide diagnosis. It's pretty, a big spectrum of what that could mean. So I also got hooked up with an early intervention program, and they kind of told me what I could do to help him. make progress. So I went back to Thailand, but after a few months, I realized that this just wasn't going to work and that he really needed the help that we could get back here in the United States. So we moved back to the United States and I enrolled him in an early intervention program. He got to see the best doctors in the world in Boston, between Children's Hospital, Mass General, wherever. So, he slowly began to thrive. He had feeding issues, which included, a G-tube for a while. Then he finally got off of that. Then, it became preschool time, and he went to preschool, and he was included with other typical kids.
Where was that?
In Fairhaven at the Rogers School. They used to have portables. The Rogers School is no longer open in Fairhaven. Mm-hmm. And so the one issue was that he could walk with a walker, and then he also, during that time, he got his first wheelchair. It was cute as a button. Everyone wanted to push him in it. Mm-hmm. He did learn to walk with forearm crutches with the help of one of his physical therapists, Kelly, who we still know to this day. She's lovely. And so he did okay. But then at Rogers School, we knew that it's an older school that Henry Huddleston Rogers built. He didn't build it with his hands. He paid for it to be built. And all the classrooms were upstairs or downstairs. And, upstairs, but the bathrooms were downstairs. So we soon realized that we would have to make a decision. His two siblings went to Rogers School, and I really wanted to keep them together, but it just didn't seem feasible. So I think it was...
I would suspect that this may have involved a lot of effort in dealing with the situation and trying to mitigate.
Right. There was a lot of advocacy involved in trying to get Brennan the best services and have him at the best place where he could thrive. So I think it was probably around, sorry, my memory
It's okay.
isn't great, but it was either, I think he went to kindergarten at Rogers School, but at first grade he moved over to the Wood School, which is on Sconneck Road in Fairhaven.
Okay.
So he started there, and I had met a mom, Paula, who had a son, Patrick, who has since passed away, who had muscular dystrophy, which he had a rare kind, Duchenne's. And we decided together that we would raise money to build a handicap accessible playground there, and it's called Everybody's Playground. So it took us probably about 2 years, and we raised about $250,000, and we got a lot of
I think
town
that would be
support.
$250,000.
Yeah, probably today. But today it would be like, a lot of money. But
how did you do that? I mean, that's a real organizational accomplishment.
The internet was early, and so it wasn't like today where you could ask AI or, you know what I mean? It was, what we did was we found this lady, Amy Barzak, in Connecticut, sorry. I think she was in Hartford, Connecticut, and she had built Jonathan's Dream, which was in honor of her son who had passed away at a young age. And it was all accessible. So we all took all the kids and we went to Connecticut and saw hers, and we got a little schooling on how to raise money. But a lot of it was honestly going through my pantry, looking at the phone numbers or whatever, the corporations, and just writing letters to everyone and saying, will you donate to this cause? And then we had an article put on the town floor meeting in Fairhaven, and the town donated $50,000 towards it, and then the community helped us build it, along with my husband worked at Mass General Hospital, and he got a lot of his buddies to come down too on the weekends and help build the structure. So yeah, it was quite an undertaking.
It is a fantastic undertaking, and it's really a grassroots effort.
Yeah.
Round up, person by person, face by face.
Right.
So, kudos to you for that. How did Brennan feel about it?
Yeah, he was really happy about being able to go out at recess and not be stuck on a blacktop when everyone else was playing on the existing playground. They were all having fun. So he had to kind of build his imagination and, prior to the playground being built. So, he was happy that he was able to finally get up and go all over the place on this playground that was accessible. I think he felt pretty good about it.
From there, tell me how the book came about and purpose for the book and where you're going with the book currently.
Okay. So I was, an engineering major. I didn't know much about writing. I didn't know how to write. I was never that good at English. So I was looking into, I don't know if you remember it in this area, it was called the South Coast Learning Network. Okay, so they had these little, not a brochure, like a little book that they would hand out, and they would have all these course offerings. So I would take different little courses. I remember taking broken plate mosaic, and then I decided not to do that because you need a very well-ventilated space and this and that and whatever. But one day I saw that they were offering a memoir writing class. So I asked my sister Tracy if she would like to go take the memoir writing class. So we went over to Dartmouth because they would just use space wherever they could. I think it was at an assisted living place. And we met our teacher, Carrie Egan, who since moved away. And we had this class that met, I think it met every week for a few weeks. I can't even remember now. I don't think it was a one and done. So anyways, and in that process, I met someone named Holly Fitzgerald, who became my writing partner. And she went on to publish a book called Ruthless River, which is done very, very well. It's an awesome book, and it sold thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of books. Ruthless River. Yeah, it's an amazing story. And again, it's I would call it a memoir. It's her story. It's just amazing. So Holly and I, after that class, would get together pretty much weekly, and we would each write, and Tracy dropped off early on, but Holly and I stuck together, and we would just every week meet at Panera or wherever, and I would give her my chapter and she'd give me her chapter, and we would critique each other's work. And during that time, I took writing classes here, there, and everywhere in Boston or online, or read books, on writing. And so it took me about 17 years to write and publish this book. So it wasn't... It was a hobby for me over 17 years, learning how to write. There's a whole thing in writing that's show, don't tell. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't.
Okay, so...
Not off the top.
Well, so show, don't tell. Like, you can't just... If you're just telling someone something, they don't really visualize what's going on if you're just telling. Like, I walked to the store. I bought a candy bar. and then I walked home and I watched TV. You have to show, it was a cold day.
Your book really
Yeah.
expresses that.
Yeah.
So that step by linear, almost process type
Yeah.
description that paints the picture, the visual picture of what's going on.
Right.
Your writing style reflects that. So
Thanks.
It's,
Well, so you start out telling, and then you turn it into showing, and that happens in a lot of ways, and also with a lot of dialogue. So, over 17 years, I wrote pretty much every day. I would get up really early before the kids were awake, and it was quiet in the house, and I would just be creative and just do my writing. And then writing is all about revision, right? You write something and it just absolutely, if I can say it, sucks,
You can say it.
And then, you revise it until it sounds pretty good. And you're never happy with it. It's always like, oh, that could be better, But anyways, after 17 years, I decided, you know what? I think it's done, and I think I'll publish it. So that's what happened. So I published it just about, I think it was April 7th of 2025. So just about a little over a year ago.
Okay. Some of the things that you are good at is collaborating, working with the other artists pertaining to authorship, perseverance, goal setting. I mean, you had a 17-year project,
Yeah.
which is sort of amazing right there.
Yeah.
So
My stick-to-itiveness kind of gets me in trouble sometimes, because there are things in life that you
gotta let go.
gotta let go, and I have to learn that lesson.
Isn't that the hard lesson to choose? Is picking and choosing,
Right,
curating.
right.
What do you select?
Sometimes you stay on one thing too long, and you're like, I should have stopped this a long time ago. But I'm really glad that I didn't stop this book, because I think that it is raw and it's honest and it's unvarnished truth. I mean, that's one thing. Like, a lot of people will write things that are really pretty and nice and happy, and and I'm not saying there aren't happy times in this, but they're sad, and I just put myself out there in a way that's almost like being naked running down a major street. Like, just seeing me for who I am, not, the blemishes, the everything.
Well, that's very hard to do, okay, to really to present yourself in an authentic way. I mean, that's a hard thing to do, because we talked about this, the masks that people wear.
Right.
And the rawness of this story really, it serves a purpose. How do you see the purpose of the story being served with your style?
I think that people see themselves, right?
Yeah.
Because we do, go about the world, and, if we're meeting on the street, hi, Max, how are you? And you say, oh, I'm fine. Thanks, Trina. But little do I know that you just lost your mother, or a dear friend, or you just had an illness, or, you know what I mean? Like, we don't often, it gives you permission to be vulnerable.
Thank you for going to go into there, and I think that's part of what is sort of expressive for you, is expressing your feelings, putting on paper. My sense is that might allow you to be able to move on.
Yeah, and I think there was tremendous growth as I went through the book. I mean, I was certainly, people who have read it are like, feel really bad for my husband because,
You're hard on him sometimes.
I was really hard on him, but, I was younger then, and I thought that, I think that we don't teach young women or I guess young men like things about marriage, and you always have this Hollywood version of what it's going to be like, right?
Yep.
And so
these expectations, unreasonable expectations.
And I expected him to intuit my needs, and that was unreasonable, but it was something that I grew up seeing in the movies.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And so I think a lot of growth happened during the course of the book, and a testament to it is we just celebrated our 41st wedding anniversary. We've been together 45 years altogether.
That's congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a powerful thing.
But I think, stories really connect people, and I think that sometimes people don't want to be vulnerable and tell them the dark side of things, that things aren't great, and that, I just think that there's good ways to connect. And I'm not saying like, oh, be Debbie Downer all the time and just tell people the crappy stuff. No. But I'm saying be vulnerable and be able to entrust in a good friend or whoever, what you're going through.
Well, that's risk-taking.
Yeah.
It's risk-taking in terms of allowing the vulnerability to be there and to be present for the response. And that's the toughest part, is how do I respond to that? And I think your approach is certainly one to process and understand first.
Right.
Before the leap.
Yeah, and then let's face it, like sometimes you just need someone as a sounding board. You're not looking for advice. You just want to get it out and have someone really listen. But sometimes you are looking for advice. Sometimes your goal is like, can you help me with this? Can you help me process this? Do you have any suggestions, whatever? But so often people are just wanting someone to hear them. Really, truly listen and hear them.
Validation without judgment.
Right.
Yeah. I need to bring this out that Brennan is still alive and with us.
Yes, and he will be 35 years old in August.
Congratulations.
And he doesn't like that number.
Why?
But what's the alternative?
He doesn't want to be middle-aged?
He feels like he's getting older, like life is fast.
Guess what? That's life.
I know. But he's doing great. Still struggles, but he lives in an apartment in Boston. He's employed, I would say underemployed. So anybody who's listening to this, Brennan is an incredibly hard worker, and he has an undergraduate degree from, I always get it confused, Rhode Island College. Yes, I always get confused with University of Rhode Island. And then he has a graduate degree in communication. And he's studying now to get a certification in program management. So anybody who's looking for a great person that is hardworking, yeah.
Now I think I saw the YouTube of an event involving Brennan. Was that YouTube on your website?
I think it is on my website.
Okay.
I think you can click and see. So a couple of years ago, I can't remember exactly the year, I'd say it was 4 or 5 years ago, he did something, he totally organized it. I'm sure he had some help, but he did the lion's share. But he had something on Broadway at the Green Room, and he brought together all artists from all over that, and he did, it was musical songs, and he would have, different people, maybe, the person had a disability, maybe the person was blind or deaf or, had some kind of physical impairment or whatever, but it brought everyone together, and it was the most fabulous night of my life. Brennan did such an awesome job, and I'm not just saying it because I'm his mother.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome. It was so great. So he's always been a musical theater guy. He loves musical theater. He's brought our whole family to love musical theater. I mean, if you ask me my favorite songs, they're going to come from some musical theater. And if you want to know what my favorite musical theater show is, it's The Color Purple. I've seen it so many times with so many different casts, and it's just fabulous, and I love it.
Excellent.
And I think his favorite, his first was The Lion King. When it first came out, he was probably only 5 or 6 years old, and that sealed the deal for him.
That was a good one to start with.
Yeah.
Well, let's move from here to your more tangible artistic pursuits.
Sure.
If we, we talked about some early creative pursuits. I think involved knitting and sewing.
Yeah, when I was in high school and college, I knit a lot, and I was quite a good knitter. I made some awesome sweaters. In fact, my husband, we're kind of cleaning out our house a little bit, and he found some of my sweaters that I had made him when we were first dating, and with the Irish knit with the cables and the Norwegian sweater. Oh, they're beautiful. But I developed carpal tunnel syndrome, so I couldn't knit anymore. So I had to give up that hobby. And then I searched for a hobby for years. And then writing became a hobby. But then I finished that, and then I needed another hobby. So one day I was at an art fair, and I saw these decoupaged tissue box holders. And I bought one because they were so pretty. And I brought it home, and I thought, let me go on Etsy and see if I can buy a kit for decoupaging oyster shells. So I bought the kit, and I did those. Then that wasn't good enough, so I started doing like conch shells and bigger shells, and they were just beautiful. And then I started dabbling in dot painting, like Mandela dot painting.
Now, before you go on the shell sculptures, I call them sculptures.
Yeah.
How many do you think you made? Hundreds?
Hundreds, if not thousands.
If not thousands. And where did they go?
I gave them all away.
You gave them all away. I mean, to me, that's just a pure expression of your artistic, to make these things and give them to people.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that people love them,
Yeah.
So, I mean, seeing your art, your pieces. So tell me about the dot painting.
Oh, so I started a little Mandela dot painting. I just took like a piece of cardboard. I took a pencil, and I had some acrylic paints, and I just started like really slow. Then I ended up, someone had given me a quilt card, which is the art of rolling paper. So then I was like, I'd like to try that. And then I started doing some kind of mixed media. So I would use all the things I knew and put them into a picture, the quilling and the dot painting and the whatever. And even, so then after that, I ended up, my sister had a good friend from high school, Karen Zukas, who has the New Bedford Arts and Cultural Emporium. I think that's what it's called. I'm sorry, Karen, if I said it wrong. But anyway, she has a great place here in the south end of New Bedford at Kilbourne Mills that she teaches all different kinds of art, like really every different kind of art. And so I started watercolor painting with her. And that really kind of took off for me, and I loved watercolor. And then I got introduced to gouache by someone in Fairhaven who used to have the art loft in Fairhaven, and Tina, and she's an amazing gouache painter. And gouache is just it's kind of a hybrid of watercolor. It's a more opaque. The colors are really vibrant. It's not really like acrylic or oil or anything.
It fixes on the paint on the paper too, in terms of setting it in, or does it?
Well, it's not like acrylic where it dries and then it doesn't move under you. It moves under you, so that's the little trickiness of it.
So it's a watercolor, but a little more substance?
With more pigment. Yeah,
okay.
Heavy loaded pigment. Yes.
Thank you.
So it's really cool. So lately I have been like almost exclusively painting with gouache because I love it so much. So, but I still do watercolor too. But so I've been painting for about 2 years now, and I do get commissions to, especially to paint pet portraits. So I've been doing that, but mostly, again, I give away most of my art because I had found this quote from Picasso that I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't have it with me, but it's something about find your gift and then give it away. So I know
that's easy for Picasso to say.
Yeah. But that was the general gist of it, is to find your gift and then give it away to the world.
Which you've been doing.
Yeah.
Your website, which includes the first chapter of Better Than Ordinary, and some other sections of the website. The place on your website for your gouache watercolors is called Legacy Watercolors.
Right.
That's a menu, in the menu title. And
we didn't mention my website name, so it's just my
you.
name, www.trinabigham.com.
It's
super
easy to find.
Yeah.
It is easy to find, and so help me. The detailed is on the Legacy Watercolors. It's on the bottom of the page. I had to.
You have to scroll down to see it. Yeah.
But I really love your art.
Thank you.
It's just beautiful representations, very attractive to me. And I mean, I really enjoyed looking at your samples, and I can just imagine how much people appreciate your art.
Thanks. Well, I paint a lot. As Tina says, brush mileage. So I get a lot of brush mileage. I paint pretty much every day, and I paint a lot. So I've really had a lot of brush mileage in the last 2 years. So I enjoy it. I especially enjoy painting people's portraits, and also I really enjoy painting pets and other things. I'll paint almost anything.
I agree. And portraits, landscapes, still lifes. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned this to you before, and after looking at your full Legacy Watercolor website or page, almost every portrait has those eyes are right in. Eye contact. That's something about your. I mean.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I almost exclusively paint pictures that, even with dogs or anything, that you see their eyes, because I don't know, I mean, maybe it's cliche, but the eyes are the windows to the soul.
Well, I mean, that really speaks in your art. It's distinctive for me. So even there's one dog portrait of the dog is sort of cross-eyed, but somehow you get the eyes look. So it's wonderful. People should take a look at it.
Thank you.
Enjoy that. You set up your website. Tell me about your marketing approach and what you want to accomplish with your marketing, both the book, if you're interested in marketing, besides giving your art away. What is your focus or direction from this point in terms of that marketing?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, last fall, I did a library talk at the Millicent Library in Fairhaven. Karen Zukas opened her art space to me to have a book launch, which was very kind of her. It was a great event. It was well attended. I did have my art up on the wall, but it was mostly a book launch. And I'll be honest with you, I mean, except for trying to get reviews on Amazon, which is like pulling teeth, I haven't done anything with marketing. I don't know. I'd rather paint.
Are you, and this includes your watercolors and gouache. So you're satisfied with your approach in giving the art away?
Well, so I do now, because you know so many people, right? And you give away art to so many people.
And you're still producing art.
So now I've gotten a lot of people who are like, a friend or a neighbor of someone who I've given a piece of art to that said, can I commission Trina to do this, And so I have made a little side business of doing that. I haven't done a lot of publicity for that. It's usually word of mouth. If you have any suggestions, especially not with the pet portraits, but with the book.
Especially with the book.
I mean, I would like it to get out to people because I think there's a lot of life lessons in it, and I think it would help people. I don't think you just have to have a disability for it to help you. I think there's just a lot of life lessons in there.
I can't answer that question fairly because I really don't know in terms of marketing a book.
Right.
But I do think that getting the word out here on the South Coast Arts Index podcast is going to get possibly
it's a good first step.
It's a first step.
Yeah.
Networking.
Absolutely.
Some of my response is that you take in a lot of information and you communicate a lot of information, and once it's out there, you move on. And, that's a creative pursuit that's driving everything else, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even, and for me, I mean, from my standpoint, in terms of validation, you don't have to sell one single book. Your creation of the book over 17 years, all the formative activities that you participated in to grow yourself and other people, that was enough, But if you have aspirations or goals, that go even beyond that, that's why we're talking. And, where do we go from here?
Right.
Certainly, your productivity of art, it's going to continue as long as you don't change.
Right.
That's where the way you are.
Yeah.
In terms of your your watercolors and gouache.
Gouache.
That I have more direct ideas and input on, including the art galleries in New Bedford that are available.
Right.
So I'll say publicly, the Gallery X would be a fabulous place, I think, for you to show your art, your watercolors.
Okay.
I think you should absolutely touch base with the New Bedford Art Museum that also has open artist shows.
Okay.
All right, and that I would suggest, with the connectivity that happens with the artistic scene in New Bedford, this is going to again allow a lot of networking and opportunity for pursuit of possibly things you want to go for next.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks. One question I'm amazed that you didn't ask me is there going to be another book?
Thank you. That's a fabulous question, and how come I didn't think of it? I want to hear that. Is there one?
I don't know.
Oh, come on.
I can never say never.
Okay. Have you started one, or is there a journal?
No.
No writing at all right now?
No real writing right now.
Too much watercolors.
Too much watercolor, too much painting. Too much painting. I mean, I won't say absolutely no, because who knows? But the story after this book is hard to speak about.
Okay. Even harder than the first.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to?
Sorry.
Do you just want to touch upon?
Yeah.
I mean, this is strong feelings.
Yeah, strong feelings. Once I finished the book, I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I was hospitalized for a very long time before they diagnosed me. Mm-hmm. And that was really, really hard. I was very sick. Like 10% chance of living. And then about 3 years later, it came back, and I had to have a stem cell transplant, which is now I think might be easier than it was then. Mm-hmm. But it's something you wouldn't put your worst enemy through. Mm. And then the chemicals and the chemotherapy are very right. They pretty much bring you to dead, and then they bring you back to life.
What period of time is this?
So the first lymphoma was in 2013. The second one was in 2016, and the stem cell transplant was in 2017. So that was really difficult, and I apologize.
That's
I wear my heart on my sleeve, so I cry a lot. Sorry to your listeners. And I'm sure all your listeners are saying, don't worry, you can cry. And then in 2023, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So it's been a bumpy road since then. And I just don't know. I think there's a lot of books out there on people who have, and I'm not saying I've had it worse than anybody else, but it's a tough thing to go through, and I would think it's a tough thing to write about. And I think it has been written about a lot. So I don't know. I never say never, but I'm not sure.
Well, one thing I want to say right off the top on that is your story is unique. And I think to dismiss not doing it because someone's done it before is just, that's an illusion, because your story is unique and it certainly deserves to be told, especially if you want to.
Right.
So, it's not, I mean, to ever think that you are living a life of a template,
Yeah.
that let's just push that right out.
Right. Right.
Your life experience is one of trials and life tribulations that are, from at least from my standpoint, sort of beyond belief.
Yeah.
And that you come through with such strength. And how do you do that? I think, I've heard let me just say that some of the things I've heard is your perseverance, your goal orientation, your focus on goal, goal oriented, making the list and staying on. And this is power. This is superpower.
Yeah.
And so anyway, thank you for being honest and able to share this.
Yeah. Thanks. And I'll have to say, I just have to say a big thank you to my family for getting me through that rough time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the head of it is my husband, Chai, who just was a rock for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then my 3 children. I have 2 others besides Brennan, Elle and Kai. They really stood by me like no other. And a lot of family, my sister, friends, just, yeah. It takes a village.
Well, I'm so glad that that you had those connections, and I'm so glad that you're here now and sharing this story.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Let's talk about. Let me ask this. This is new information for me. Do you feel you're recovered adequately? Your health?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that too.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
this isn't still an ongoing thing. Because it would be hard for me to tell if you are still suffering.
Right.
Because
Right.
you contain it, you hold it in, and you persevere.
Yeah.
So, well, let me leave it. I'll leave it. The next question open to you. Do you have any other questions, reflections, thoughts, feedback? Anything you want to add?
I guess what I would add is that, while I was writing the book and everything, there was a lot of disability advocacy and, states and federal governments were funding a lot of great programs which would include everyone. And I would say that we've, in my opinion, or what I've observed, is that we've backslid a lot on that. And I think that, people are people. Everybody deserves a fair shot. And some people need a little bit extra help, and that help should be there. Massachusetts, I'll have to say, has always been a leader in this area. But even in Massachusetts, I think funding and all that kind of stuff has cut things, and things seem, people may argue with me, but it seems like things are not going forward at the pace they were.
Well, I agree, and I'll throw my 2 cents in this. I think a just society takes care of all of its citizens, all of its people.
Agree.
And the responsibility of society, especially for people who have less ability, society needs to step up and give extra.
I wouldn't say they have less ability. I would say they have different ability.
Thank you. That's a better way to put it. But it involves assistance by others, I believe, and we were in the right track. I think we certainly hadn't achieved what we wanted to in terms of a fair and just society. I think we see the backsliding in civil rights the same way.
Yes.
I think we see the openness towards diversity of all types to be backsliding.
Absolutely.
And I'll just say one other thing, and that is I study history, and the history of Germany in the 30s. The first step in controlling the German people was controlling the marginal population first. It was the disabled. It was other minorities that were first shunted and removed.
Yeah.
And that is a lesson to history.
Yeah.
And will we repeat? I feel that I'm optimistic that there, with social movement, you have reaction and reaction back, and the pendulum swings. And I think the pendulum was swinging in the right direction at one point.
Yes.
I think it swung back in the wrong direction. I think it'll swing back again. It's going to take effort, collaboration, and focus on the right issues.
Yeah.
And economics. So, for whatever it's worth, I support the concerns.
Yeah, I mean, in just such vast areas. I mean, in women's rights, right? And women's health rights, and LGBTQ rights.
Marginalized to a huge degree right now. It's scary.
It is. I mean, we have backslid. There's just no doubt about it.
There's no doubt about it.
And we need to get back and then keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
Because it has to be an equitable society.
We could keep going.
Yeah,
honestly.
we could for
but
days.
We're limited in
That's
time.
right. That's right.
So with that, we'll close another episode of the podcast from the South Coast Artists Index. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the South Coast Artists Index podcast. For more information, please visit theartistindex.com.